Welcome back, and today we are going all the way to Spain. JW.org sues the Victim Association in Spain. Well, they sue individuals. 4 individuals they sued in Spain. JW.org. Could you imagine that? Victims. Let's take a look at the Victims Association. It's right here. We're going to cover this. We'll cover this at the after we cover the news. This is off JW.org. There's the Victims Association. So here you have it, a bunch of victims. We're going to read about them. And these guys just want to get together and talk. You know, if you're a victim of this organization and you went through what these people went through, you would be calling them an extremist and a cult in a negative way. And thanks to Carlos, this is the lawyer here. He's the one that took this on. Carlos Bardavio. Carlos Bardavio. And I'll put a link to him as well. We subscribe to him, and he did a lot of work here. So now we're going to get to the article. It's interesting in Spain here. All the newspapers are carrying this. Could you imagine being a Jehovah's Witness in Spain right now? And this is hitting the headlines. You know, if they would have left the victims alone, left the association alone, they wouldn't have gotten world headlines on this. This made them look a lot worse than the Victims Association, they figure, did. Now, this is the headline. A judge once again supports calling the Jehovah's Witness an extremist and a destructive sect. Headlines. Right in the Spain newspaper. We had to translate this. It says many inflexible behaviors have been revealed, rigid demands of rules regardless of their consequences, which ordinarily cause damage, destroy families, or threaten the mental health of those who have been their recipients. And that's what this one newspaper brings out. Shows a picture of an assembly there. And this is the second ruling that endorses under the umbrella of freedom of expression. So here you have it. Jehovah's Witnesses have been fighting the world for freedom of expression. And they won. Jehovah's Witnesses won in a lot of courts throughout the decades. And now they are suing the victims of their religion because they want to have freedom of expression. Exactly what Jehovah's Witnesses fought for. So they're losing. Obviously, they're going to lose this one. So let's take a look. We're going to look in depth on this article. It explains it really well. A new ruling from a Madrid court supports that the Jehovah's Witnesses can be called an extremist and destructive sect, right on the national news. You see, if they would have left it alone, it wouldn't have been on the national news. But they went after these victims. So we're going to take a look at this in detail. Okay, so a former adept, Gabriel Pedrero, was denounced for publishing that they have blood on their hands. The young man has also sued the organization for sexual abuse and is awaiting trial. The victims, after the first ruling in their favor, they made us believe that there was going to be a world genocide. This is Gabriel Pedrero, a former member of the Jehovah's Witness, denounced by them. The judge has issued a second ruling that endorses, under the umbrella of freedom of expression, the criticism expressed by the Spanish Association of Victims of Jehovah's Witnesses towards the religious confession, in this case by one of its members, who he refers to it as an extremist and a destructive sect. In the sentence sent this Wednesday to the media, Judge Raquel Shashon, head of the court of the first instance, number 6, pronounces in the same sense in which she already did in a resolution published last month in December, which was celebrated as historic by the victims. In this case, the lawsuit was directed against Gabriel Pedrero, a delegate of the Victims Association in Madrid, an administrator of the entity's social networks, who published messages on his personal profile in which he criticized various aspects of the confession to which he belonged since his childhood. Now, among other things, he accused the religion of having blood on its hands, both for the deaths supposedly caused by preventing blood transfusions and for suicides caused by the stress anxiety, and depression caused by belonging to this religion and this community. So Pedro, 36 years old, has also filed a lawsuit against the organization in which he claims to have suffered abuse from an elder, they call it a priest here, from the age of 12 to 16 and is awaiting trial. And at the time, I did not dare to report because they teach us that the Holy Spirit of Jehovah is the one who appoints the elders. And I was afraid of disobeying him, but I also knew that I was breaking his rules with what was happening, he said in the report at 20 minutes. In it, Pedrero recounted the psychological consequences he suffered after his life in the Jehovah's Witnesses. At the age of 15, he was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder due to the accumulation of things experienced. He was only thinking about taking my life, he stated, while commented that when he decided to leave the community, the elders recommended his father, a ministerial servant, one step away from becoming an elder, to throw him out of home. He didn't do it because of his health problems. I lived with him and it was horrible. They punished me with social death. Precisely in the reported publication of Pedrero, the young man alluded to the cover-ups of crimes that is practiced within the confession, as in case of sexual abuse, the social death, to which those who are expelled are subjected to, or the impediment that is placed on the faithful so that they do not pursue university studies. For their part, the Jehovah's Witnesses considered this content degrading and insulting, which is why they requested the withdrawal of comments, the cessation of their dissemination, and compensation of 15,000 euros for legitimate interference with their right to honor. So the Jehovah's Witnesses sued these victims for degrading and insulting them and interference with their right to honor. And they sued these guys for 15,000 euros, and that's a lot of money. So, wow, here you got victims of an organization and you sue the victims because they said something that you didn't like. Something like this guy underwent, and he's going to court for all of these horrible things. So let's carry on. 10 testimonies from the ex-adepts. Faced with these accusations, the judge relies up to 10 testimonies from former followers who testified at the trial along the same lines as Pedrero, and concludes that his criticisms are not mere rumors or suspicions or intuitions or simple opinions of a third party foreign to confession, but rather they are based on their own direct experience. So all these other 10 testimonies said, yep, this organization sucks and it's got a lot of problems. So regarding the description of the extremist and destructive sect that Pedrero makes on several occasions in his published messages, the judge considers this expression truthful, which does not mean that it is true, and many inflexible behaviors have been revealed, rigid demands of the rules regardless of their consequences, which usually cause damage, destroy families, or threaten the mental health of those who have been their recipients, he argues. For all of these reasons, it is considered that the criticisms analyzed are legitimate and are protected by the right to freedom of expression. So they do not entail interference in the right to honor Jehovah's Witnesses. The judge who signs this ruling is the same one who issued last December another resolution that responded to the lawsuit, in this case against the association as a whole, and in which she already endorsed the accusations made up by the entity and the use of the term sect to refer to the religion. So the judges are calling this religion the same thing, pretty much. Now, in total, Jehovah's Witnesses have filed a total of 4 lawsuits against the association or some of its members. The first of all ended with the ruling by the court, the first instance number 1 in Madrid, which is a case. It did not condemn the secretary of the association to pay up to 5,000 euros, so they threw that out. And although the judge endorsed many of the words that had offended the religion, he did consider the words dangerous sect and worst of sects to refer to the confession were clearly disproportionate and manifestly insulting and representing an illegitimate interference in the right to honor. And beyond the appeals to the sentences filed by both parties, a trial is pending as a result of the latest lawsuit filed before the court of the first instance number 5 against the president of the association, Israel Flores. And that's the end of the article. So now we're going to take a look at the backstory. Now keep in mind that this new ruling from Madrid court supports that Jehovah's Witnesses can be called an extremist and a destructive sect. Now imagine what's going on in Japan. The government in Japan reads this. What's going on in Norway? This is headlines. These are very recent headlines. This is like 20 minutes ago. So this is headlines of yesterday. This is yesterday's headlines. All over the world, governments are reading this. This is court stuff. These are legal proceedings. The governments, the courts, they're all looking at this. So now it's okay to call Jehovah's Witnesses an extremist and a destructive sect, because that's what the courts are saying. So there you have that part of the story. Okay, so we're going to open up the Victims Association. We're going to look a little bit into that. This is the backstory, thanks to Avoid JW. They carry a lot of this news, and they do an excellent job. So the Victims of Jehovah's Witnesses, the factual background of the case. So I want to say thanks to watching Watchtower for this story on what's happening in Spain. And we'll move right over to Avoid JW, and we'll read their story here. So the Victims of Jehovah's Witnesses factual background of the case. The Jehovah's Christian Witnesses of Spain, along with 6 individual members of Jehovah's Witnesses, collectively Jehovah's Witnesses, sued the Spanish group Association of Victims of Jehovah's Witnesses for interfering with their right to honor. Here's the factual background to the case. Judge Juan, Ms. Raquel Campolo. Plaintiffs are Jehovah's Christian Witnesses of Spain, and then it names all those other people. So it sounds like maybe some elders or something got together and with the branch and sued these victims. The defendants are the Spanish Association of Victims of Jehovah's Witnesses. The plaintiffs filed a complaint against the defendants with the Court of First Instance in Torrejon de Ardoz, if I said that right, Madrid, soon after the Defendants Association was formally registered in the National Registry of Associations on February 12, 2020. So the plaintiffs claimed that the AEVT has caused great discredit to the religious group, and that's the abbreviations for the group, the association. So they're claiming that it caused a lot of discreditation to Jehovah's Witnesses. And they claim that it generates harm and victims systematically violates the legal system, discriminates against different groups, and causes serious damage to health and life. The plaintiffs claim. Now, did I say that right? The Association of the Victims of Jehovah's Witnesses. So yeah, the plaintiffs are Jehovah's Witnesses. So they made that claim. The Jehovah's Witnesses demanded that the association name be eliminated, that its insulting content be made extinct, and that its website and associated social media accounts be removed and made extinct, that it cease disseminating such insulting content or similar information, and that the group pays the Jehovah's Witness organization $25,000 in compensation in euros, and that they publish the ruling of the court judgment on their website before terminating the website and pay the Jehovah's Witness court costs. So here, the whole world wants just a few apologies out of Jehovah's Witnesses. You can't get them. You can't get an apology for anything. But here, because they're offended of the truth, they're offended against the truth, they want an apology for it. This is ridiculous. Now, I'm just so happy that this went to court and that the headlines all over the world are making them look like they are. Now, the association categorically opposed the claims of the plaintiff and sought for the case to be dismissed. They allege that their statutes, motivations, and purposes are protected by the rights of freedom of information and freedom of expression, and they allege that those freedoms must prevail over the right to honor alleged by the plaintiff, which they claim had not been violated. And the association claimed that they give voice to former believers, to their experiences, and does so in a truthful and proportionate manner. And it alleges that it provides protection to those who feel like victims. Both parties were summoned to a pretrial hearing on June 7, 2022. In the pretrial hearing, the plaintiff and the prosecutor's office opposed all procedural issues raised by the defendant. All evidence that was considered pertinent to the case was admitted by January 30, 2023. The plaintiff had 12 persons give evidence. The defendant had 8, one of which was a Ukrainian national. And during the oral trial sessions, the Jehovah's Witnesses alleged new facts, including that the association removed the expression "fall into its clutches and destructive cult" from its website, that there had been some acts of vandalism against the kingdom halls of Jehovah's Witnesses, consisting of graffiti accusing them of pedophilia. The Jehovah's Witnesses could not prove that the association were responsible for these acts of vandalism. The Jehovah's Witnesses attempted to use the ECTHR, the human rights ruling dated December 13, 2022, to justify their claim for the right to honor. However, the public prosecutor's office explained that such a judgment was not applicable in this case, as this was not a human rights issue. Making reference to numerous court cases, the public prosecutor's office helped explain the difference between freedom of information and freedom of expression. The former is weighed against the truthfulness, proportionately, and general public interest. The latter, on the other hand, does not require truthfulness because expression is understood to be opinion judgments. In view of the foregoing, the public prosecutor believed that the association's website made use of both rights. Upon evaluating those rights, it understood that the truthfulness of the facts has been proven, and the victims interpret the events that have happened to them. And it went on to say that the right to honor of the Jehovah's Witnesses is not violated by the victim's claim of psychological damage, because that is how these people have experienced these events, and these are proven by the statements and the evidence. Although the individual members of Jehovah's Witnesses are not publicly known, nor are they well-known figures, there have been reporters in the courtroom in almost all sessions of the trial, and newspaper articles have been published. And since the beginning of the case, the memberships of the association has increased, with special attention being given to the issue of blood transfusions. All of this is evidence that the matter before the court arouses certain public interest. And furthermore, the ECHR has established that the freedom of expression means tolerating statements that cause discomfort, sometimes in ways that may even shock or offend or worry. Thus, the public prosecutor's office believes that there are victims of the religion, and said victims should not be restricted from identifying themselves as such. Good point. Now, the court could not find any evidence that the honor of the natural persons included as plaintiffs could have been offended by the association. In fact, 2 of the plaintiffs, Fermi and Gervasio, denied that there was an increase in physical or verbal violence against them. Therefore, the Jehovah's Witnesses had not been proven that the creation of the Spanish Association of Victims of Jehovah's Witnesses incited hatred or dishonored the religious JW group. So the Jehovah's Witnesses also attempted to allege new facts after the case had been sent for sentencing, but such evidence did not correspond to reality. However, their lawyer made an extensive assessment of the evidence as part of his arguments. Therefore, all legal requirements for this case were followed, thus ensuring Jehovah's Witnesses received a fair trial. End of article. So I'll post all this on the bottom of the newscast so you guys can take a look at any of this stuff. But it really shows that the courts are not siding with Jehovah's Witnesses. And Jehovah's Witnesses have a poor argument. There's too much child abuse. There's too much cover-up. There's too much destruction of the records, hiding of the records, twisting of the truth in court. And like I said before, the truth will always come out. And that's what the Bible says. It says that the truth will come out. We'll see that. So folks, until next time, keep living your life with love. And it always works. I know that. Bye for now. See you next time. Thanks again for watching. We appreciate your comments, your dislikes, and your likes. If you would like to support the channel, just press join and buy us a coffee once a month. Until next time, keep dancing, smiling, laughing, and most of all, keep loving those around you. And have a great day.
Produced by Fixing My Faith.